There's perhaps no car that exemplifies fun as much as the Mazda MX-5 Miata. The Miata is small, agile, playful, and makes the most of all available power. When it debuted in 1989, it took a lot of inspiration from the classic Lotus Elan, and following Lotus's mantra of making it as lightweight as possible. Tipping the scales at only 2,300 pounds, the Miata is the lightest four-wheeled vehicle on sale today. It's also relatively affordable, which likely helped it to earn a Guinness World Record for being the best-selling two-seat sports car in history. Before we get into why the Miata is such a rousing success, do us a favor and hit those like and subscribe buttons below to get all of our latest reviews. This fourth-generation Miata debuted in 2015, introducing an all-new design that departed from the rounded, tic-tac-like shape that defined previous models. This generation is defined by its sharper styling, especially in these headlights here, which give it a more serious look, as well as this more angular grille here, which looks a little less, let's say, fish-like. From the side, the Miata has classic roadster proportions with a longer hood and stubbier tail. Around back, it has a slightly sharper edge thanks to this 35th anniversary rear spoiler, and it frames these taillights really nicely. I'm particularly fond of the tan top. So much so that I think it's worth the extra work to keep it clean. Under the hood of all Miatas is a 2-liter 4-cylinder engine that's good for 181 horsepower and 151 pound-feet of torque. A 6-speed manual transmission is standard, but if you need an automatic, it is available on the Grand Touring trim. In the entire Miata lineup, the sportiest is the Club trim. That benefits from Bilstein shocks, a limited slip differential, and a track mode. This 35th anniversary edition is more indicative of the entire Miata lineup, and it's an absolute hoot behind the wheel. And let me show you why. Of course, the first order of business before you even start the vehicle is to pull the top down. Of course, unless it's raining, and it's really easy. It's just a quick flip and a slam down. Unlike previous Miatas where the top would just kind of drop down with gravity, you can see that I had to kind of push it down. That's because it has a little spring-loaded mechanism there. But while that's kind of a pain when you're taking the top down, it's much easier to put it back up. You just pop it there and it just kind of flips forward. But once you start it up, it has this nice little growl that's really not that characteristic of 4-cylinder engines. And it really adds to the whole theater of things. When you're setting off in the Miata with the manual transmission, you'll be struck how intuitive and how easy it is to drive. First off, the clutch, the engagement point is just perfect. The right amount of effort in the pedal as well. The shifter has a really short throw. It's almost like a toggle switch. It's one of those manuals where I find myself making unnecessary shifts just to have more interaction with the car. And the pedals, well, the pedals are absolutely perfectly placed for heel-toe downshifts, and the brake pedal also has the right amount of effort. Overall, everything just feels like it's almost wired into my brain, where I don't have to think about things, I just react. Now, the real star of the show is the handling. That's what this car is all about. My goodness, is it good. It may not be the top performer of all sports cars, but there are very few that are as fun and as engaging and entertaining. And this narrow, windy road is just perfect for the Miata too, because it's so small. The footprint just feels like I have so much space and I can almost take a racing line without leaving my lane. And then there's the sound of that engine. It has a nicer growl than almost any other 4-cylinder I know of. It just encourages you to drive with a little more spirit, and especially when you want to do a heel-toe downshift. Oh, perfect. Everything just feels right. I don't know how many times I've said this in the review, but man, it just speaks to me. And there's a reason why almost every other automotive journalist I know has a similar soft spot in their heart for the Miata. It's just damn good. Now, with the top down, it's really not so bad buffeting-wise. My hair isn't being tossed around like crazy, and yeah, you can have a conversation with your passenger just fine. I'm not really sure how much that windscreen over my shoulder is doing to calm down the buffeting, but any little bit helps. More often than not, it's about the turbulence underneath the vehicle that causes all this whirlpool effect inside the cabin, and I'm just not getting that here. And with the top up, it's obviously quieter because you're not getting that wind buffeting, but I still hear quite a bit of road noise and other vehicles over my left shoulder. The top doesn't have as many layers as some other convertibles, but considering the price and what this car is made for, I think it's just fine. I think it's perfect. Now, even though this does handle like some of the best sports cars, the ride quality isn't all that bad. Sure, it's firm, but it's not harsh at all. It's a fairly rough road we're on, and it's not shaking itself to death. And on a long road trip, it's actually a good companion. As a sports car, it is focused on the whole driving experience. As a result, it's a little light on safety features. You do have some of the very basic stuff like lane keep assist and frontal collision mitigation, but you don't get all the bells and whistles, and you also don't get adaptive cruise control, especially with the manual transmission. Overall, it's a great balance of sportiness and comfort. And honestly, with the way everything's laid out, the feel of all the controls, it should be a benchmark for every other car maker out there that wants to make a lively little sports car. The Miata has one of the smallest cockpits in all of automotive. Despite that, I don't really feel all that closed in, and I'm 5'10". I've got plenty of space, I mean, obviously with the top off, but even with the top up, I still have a couple inches above my head. I especially like this panel right here, which adopts the body color. It brings the outside in, and it just gives it a nicer, more classic look. By the nature of it being so cozy in here, all the controls are just placed perfectly within my reach. The shifter's in the right position, all the knobs are within easy reach. It just feels right and intuitive. Materials quality is pretty decent, especially for the price. You're not going to get super premium materials like you would in more expensive vehicles, but it does the job. It looks good. And these tan leather seats that come with the 35th anniversary, they feel good, they look good, they have a good amount of lateral support for when you're driving hard, but they're also really comfortable for longer drives. As you can see, there's also some speakers built into the headrests, and that helps to give you more of a surround sound feel and gives you a little more connection to the music with the top down. I also like the simplicity of the dashboard, as well as these rounded air vents here. I'm also a big fan of regular analog controls for the climate control so that you can adjust them on the fly without having to take your eyes off the road. And when it comes to the infotainment, well, it's a little hit, it's a little miss. In Mazda's native infotainment system, this doesn't operate as a touchscreen. You have to use the dial here, and I do like dials, but as close as this touchscreen is, I kind of wish it had that functionality. However, in Apple CarPlay, it does become a touchscreen. That said, I still prefer using the dial because you can hover over one button and just tap this button here to skip to the next track or whatever you want to trigger. I also really like the leather stitching on the interior. It's almost like a baseball seam here on the handbrake, shifter, and on the wheel. It almost makes me feel like I'm throwing a four-seam fastball when I'm shifting from third to fourth. With space at such a premium though, storage takes a massive hit. First off, there's no glove box. And as you can see, these cup holders, well, they're kind of flimsy, they're kind of small, and they get in the way, especially for the passenger. So, I mean, I'm more inclined to just chuck them. Now, you do have this tiny, tiny little armrest bin here that won't even fit a phone and barely fits my cable. But you do have this slightly larger bin behind, but it also just barely holds the owner's manual. Now behind the seats, there are some little cubbies, but I don't think they're meant for regular use because they don't even have a hinge. You just kind of rip them off. When it comes to cargo capacity, or lack thereof, the Miata can hold 4.6 cubic feet. That's small, but as you can see, it's not all that restrictive. You can still fit, let's say, 4 or 5 grocery bags back here. And if you're doing a weekend's trip with your significant other, I'm sure it'll hold everything so long as you're packing light and probably not doing any cold weather adventures. Prices for the Miata start just above $31,000. This 35th anniversary model, it starts just above $37,000. There's also the Mazda Miata RF that sort of combines the convertible and coupe body styles and has a starting price of around $39,000. One thing that's notable about all Miatas is its fuel economy. It's estimated to return 29 mpg combined with city and highway miles, and in my experience, it's easy to achieve that so long as you're not driving it like a complete madman. It is about time for a redesign for this generation though. Mazda has already said the next generation will have a manual and will still be lightweight. Does that mean it'll be a turbo or hybrid? Who knows? But what are you looking for in the next Miata? Let us know in the comments below. As far as competition goes, well, there isn't a whole lot. On one hand, you have the Subaru BRZ and Toyota GR86, but they're not convertibles, but they do start between $31,000 and $34,000. And they are rear-wheel drive, offer a manual transmission, and are also a lot of fun. There's also the Mini Cooper convertible, but that costs quite a bit more, and it also cashes in a little more on the kitschy fun that Minis are always known for. Of course, if you really want some serious fun, there's also the Porsche Boxster, but that has a starting price of 78 grand. And honestly, I wouldn't get the 4-cylinder, I'd get the 6-cylinder, which has a starting price of 100 grand. Out of all those picks though, the Miata is still the right pick for me. It's just fun, it's lively, it brings me joy, it does the same for my mental health as motorcycles do, and that's something you really can't put a price on. Sure, it may not be all that convenient or practical, but sometimes you just need to have fun. But that begs the question, would you go for the Miata or one of its competitors? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit those like and subscribe buttons below to get all of our latest reviews. And we'll see you in the next one.